UNM has okayed tens of millions of dollars in recent years to improve athletic facilities, most notably the new pit, but not one dime to expand a study room for disabled students that they say is way too small. One of those students says that's not fair, and he is now on a mission to do something about it. Tim Maestas is on special assignment.
These days at UNM, much of the focus is on budget cuts and spending priorities. Just ask members of the Board of Regents who have to make the hard choices. At their meeting Monday, they heard from this man.
Good morning. My name is Frank Martin.
A disabled psychology student with a mission. He wants the Regents to know what's become of the Alice Clark Room inside the Zimmerman Library, a place dedicated to the university's disabled students with special computers, technology, and books dedicated to their specific needs. For answers, we'll have to go back almost 5 years ago to the night someone set fire to the basement of UNM's main library, causing millions of dollars in damage. When the newly remodeled Zimmerman opened up again, the Alice Clark Room was not the same. The space had been reduced to make room for 2 new offices. Frank Martin says it's too small. 2 new disabled student study rooms were meant to compensate for the smaller space, but Frank says they are too hard to navigate.
I use a scooter sometime, and I could not get my scooter into those little rooms. And I'm here to ask that you find a way to fund the Alice Clark study area.
Frank says after the remodeling was complete, he and other disabled students complained. Administrators at first made it seem they would move the room to a larger space in the library.
We did pick out one design, and then library staff and administrative staff here at the university took us on a tour where the new Alice Clark room was to go.
The estimated price tag for the relocation project was $120,000, but nothing changed, and the new space remains unused.
Preliminary designs were completed. There was no commitment to actually being able to make those changes and do the remodeling.
Library administrators say budget cuts put everything on hold.
We have not been able to make any significant capital improvements to any library space over, in the last few years.
At the same time, though, the university's athletic facilities have undergone tens of millions of dollars in renovations. Regents just approved a new $3 million baseball stadium, and UNM recently finished a $60 million facelift of its aging basketball arena. The money for those projects comes from different sources than would fund the library, but Frank can't help but question the university's priorities.
The sports spending on infrastructure is just an important point to make because look at the divergence.
It's a point he made Monday in front of the Board of Regents.
This is critical infrastructure. We need it funded.
Now he has the Regents' attention.
Part of the core mission of UNM is making the university more accessible.
Regents President Jack Fortner has already contacted the university's top administrators about the Alice Clark Room.
We've asked the president to make it a priority to see if we can make this happen.
Fortner says even though the university is struggling to identify millions of dollars to cut from the budget, funding for a new Alice Clark Room is not impossible. Associate Libraries Dean Nancy Dennis says that's good to hear.
So we probably want to go back, interview students again, understand what their current needs are.
Frank says it will be worth the cost.
It's not extra spending. It's essential spending. It just hasn't been perceived that way.
For him, adequate space for the disabled is a must. The Regents' president seems to agree.
I'm not sure where we're going to get the money, but there's always priorities. And this would seem to be a priority to help our students with disabilities. I expect to hear from the president at our next meeting on March 28th.
Tim Maestas, KRQE News 13.
UNM does have a handful of disabled student study rooms across the campus, but according to Frank Martin, Zimmerman's study room is the most important because it's in the middle of the main library. We'll let you know what happens on this.